You won't believe what just went down on live TV. Saturday Night Live didn't just take a jab at Meghan Markle. They served up the ultimate roast. Right there, under the bright lights, Colin Jost unleashed a brutal punchline so sharp the crowd gasped, then erupted into laughter.
President Trump also announced a new trade deal with the UK that will reopen British markets for American companies. All that Britain demands in return is that we keep these two.
This wasn't playful teasing. This was a public slam that tore straight through the Sussexes' carefully crafted image. Harry and Meghan, once the golden couple of royal escape and fresh starts, are now the center of America's favorite joke. And folks, it's getting ugly. But here's the kicker. That SNL moment is just the tip of the iceberg. Behind the scenes, the cracks are spreading, with power players and insiders whispering about an even bigger fallout looming. So don't go anywhere. You're watching Chatter Muse, where the gossip cuts deep, the drama stays fresh, and the next twist in this royal unraveling? Oh, it's gonna drop jaws. Hit like, leave a comment, and subscribe, because what's coming next will leave you stunned. And if you thought that SNL moment was just another celebrity roast, oh no, this cut deeper. Colin Jost didn't just crack a throwaway joke. He delivered a knockout punch that echoed far beyond Studio 80H. His smirking line, "Britain only demands we keep these two," wasn't a random jab. It was a brutal, surgical strike at Harry and Meghan's entire public persona. The studio audience, they erupted. Laughter, clapping, some even groaning in delicious secondhand embarrassment. Because everyone there knew this wasn't just funny, it was true. Here's the thing. Weekend Update on SNL isn't just a comedy segment. It's America's cultural radar. When you land in that hot seat, it means you've crossed a line. You've become fair game, no longer untouchable. Think about it. Years ago, no comedian dared go too hard on the Sussexes. After the Oprah interview, they were handled with kid gloves, framed as survivors, as victims of the cold monarchy machine. But now, that sympathy shield has shattered. Colin Jost wasn't punching down. He was punching through, cutting through the royal titles, the Netflix deals, the Spotify money, the curated Instagram moments, that audience laughter. It wasn't just about the joke, it was a collective sigh, a release of months, maybe years of public exhaustion with the endless Sussex drama. Because here's the cold truth. When Saturday Night Live starts dragging you, it's not just a bad press cycle. It's a sign you've become a punchline in the American consciousness. No longer a story people admire, but one they roll their eyes at. And for Harry and Meghan, that's a brutal place to land. It's almost hard to believe, isn't it? Just a few short years ago, Harry and Meghan were the world's sympathy magnets. Sitting across from Oprah, voices trembling, telling the world they had been pushed out, silenced, smothered by the crown. Back then, the narrative was crystal clear. They were victims. Brave, bold, escaping an institution too cold to hold them. But fast forward and look where we are now. That powerful escape story has crumbled, replaced by something far less flattering. No longer media darlings or underdog heroes, the Sussexes have drifted into a dangerous zone. Overexposure. The endless interviews, the bombshell memoirs, the Netflix docuseries, the Spotify deals, the lawsuits, the carefully staged paparazzi moments. It's all added up, and not in their favor. Instead of inspiring admiration, they're sparking exhaustion. Instead of driving the conversation, they're becoming the joke in the conversation. The same public that once leaned in to hear Meghan's every revelation now shrugs at another carefully lit Instagram post, or another tabloid headline. What happened? Somewhere between victimhood and celebrity, Harry and Meghan lost control of their own story. They didn't just leave the monarchy, they ran straight into the hungry jaws of Hollywood fame, only to discover that here, the spotlight never stops burning. And when audiences feel they've seen too much, they turn hard. And that's why the SNL joke hit so perfectly. Because it didn't just roast a couple, it exposed the shift in public mood. Harry and Meghan aren't tragic exiles anymore. They're reality stars without a script, influencers without influence. And America? America's laughing. And if you think the public's laughter is brutal, wait until you see what's happening behind Hollywood's velvet ropes. Remember when Harry and Meghan first hit California? They were supposed to be the couple, the glamorous royals turned media moguls, with Oprah on speed dial, Netflix begging for content, Spotify handing over millions. But here's the uncomfortable truth no one on their PR team wants to admit. The invites have dried up, the red carpets have cooled, and the power players, they're backing away. They weren't at the Met Gala. They weren't presenting at the Oscars. They didn't make the rounds at Coachella or Cannes. For two people who were once billed as Hollywood's next power duo, Harry and Meghan have become noticeably absent. And behind the scenes, the whispers are getting louder. Netflix execs, once dazzled by the royal glitter, are now crunching numbers. And the math isn't flattering. Meghan's animated Project Pearl? Cancelled. Harry's Heart of Invictus? Barely a blip on the streaming charts. Spotify? Done. Even their star-studded deals have delivered less than promised, leaving insiders wondering, are they still worth it? Because in Hollywood, it's not enough to be famous. You have to stay relevant, stay magnetic, stay bankable. And right now, Harry and Meghan are none of those things. They're not rising stars. They're fading ones. And the industry that once fought to claim them, it's moving on, leaving the Sussexes standing on the sidelines, wondering how it all slipped away. And if you thought SNL's jab was a one-off, oh no, this is part of a full-blown comedic takedown. Bill Simmons, the powerhouse behind Spotify's biggest podcasts, didn't just roll his eyes at the Sussexes. He called them grifters, out loud, on air. And he's not some fringe commentator. He's a major industry voice, someone with the clout to shape how insiders talk behind closed doors. Then came Stephen Colbert, who turned Harry's frostbitten mishap, the infamous frozen royal appendage from his memoir, into viral late-night fodder. Colbert didn't hold back, ridiculing the details and turning Harry's emotional journey into pure comedy gold. And Jon Stewart? He weighed in on Meghan's crumbling brand, slicing through the polished image and calling out her projects as hollow and scattered. This isn't just gossip fodder anymore, it's a cultural turning point. Because when America's sharpest, most influential comedians decide you're no longer sacred ground, you've officially crossed into punchline territory. It's not just the tabloids coming after you, it's the very voices that define pop culture's mood. For Harry and Meghan, that's devastating. Because here's the hard truth. Once the comedian starts circling, the damage is done. No amount of Instagram posts or Netflix trailers can fix what laughter has already broken. When people stop sympathizing and start snickering, that's when you know the narrative has slipped completely out of your hands. And here's where it all gets painfully awkward. Because while the comedians are sharpening their jokes, Harry and Meghan, they're still clinging to the same old playbook. Glossy photo ops, curated Instagram posts, and carefully staged candid moments meant to scream, "We're thriving, we're fabulous, we're still relevant." Take Meghan's recent Beyoncé concert appearance. Smiling, glowing, perfectly lit. But to the public, it didn't feel fresh or exciting. It felt calculated. The audience has caught on. These aren't spontaneous snapshots of a glamorous life. They're desperate attempts to control a crumbling narrative. And the more they push, the more the public pulls back. Because here's the thing. People are tired. Tired of the constant headlines, the relentless image management, the never-ending look at us moments. What once felt like a brave couple fighting the system now feels like overexposed celebrities addicted to the spotlight. In today's media world, authenticity sells. And Harry and Meghan's carefully polished image, it's worn thin. Instead of reshaping public perception, their PR machine is now working against them, amplifying the sense that they are out of touch, not just with the royal family, but with the very audiences they are trying to win back. While Harry and Meghan scramble to stay in the headlines, the royal family? They've mastered the art of doing absolutely nothing, and it's working like a silent wrecking ball. King Charles, Prince William, and the palace have followed one ruthless, calculated strategy: dignified silence. No public rebuttals, no fiery press releases, no emotional interviews. Just a cold, centuries-old playbook that says, when the storm hits, you stand still and let it pass. And that silence has been devastating. Every time Harry or Meghan drops a bombshell, a memoir chapter, a documentary confession, a headline-grabbing accusation, the monarchy remains still, watching from the sidelines as public opinion tilts in their favor. Why? Because without the palace engaging, the Sussexes' outbursts start to feel one-sided, even petty. Each fresh revelation now lands with less impact, less shock, less sympathy. Meanwhile, the monarchy's quiet restraint reinforces their image as the calm, steady institution, the one holding its ground while the younger ex-royals spiral further and further out of touch. In the end, Harry and Meghan's biggest opponent wasn't the palace's revenge. It was the palace's refusal to play the game at all. And in that dignified silence, the Sussexes' credibility has slowly, painfully collapsed. And here's the most painful twist of all. It's not just the jokes or the palace silence that's hurting Harry and Meghan. It's the fact that even their causes are slipping away. Remember when Meghan was hailed as a feminist icon? When Harry was praised for championing mental health? Those early days were electric, full of promise. But now, their brand has shifted. From inspiration to indulgence, from substance to, well, self-focus. Their projects aren't landing. Their activism feels overshadowed by their personal dramas. Mental health organizations, women's rights groups, and social justice campaigns, the very movements that once welcomed their voices, are starting to look elsewhere. Because here's the truth. Activists crave impact, not headlines. They want leaders who show up, not celebrities who dominate the conversation with their own grievances. And that's the final, brutal blow. Harry and Meghan were handed an extraordinary global platform, a chance to lead, to inspire, to reshape what royal influence could mean. But somewhere along the way, that mission got tangled up in personal battles, PR missteps, and an exhausting cycle of overexposure. Now, they're not just ex-royals. They're fading influencers, voices that once carried weight, but now echo in an audience that's already moved on. So, let's step back for a moment. Harry and Meghan's story isn't just another round of celebrity gossip or tabloid drama. It's become something bigger, something almost mythic. This is a modern fable about fame, overreach, and the steep, unforgiving price of losing touch with the very public that once lifted you up. They had it all: royal prestige, global sympathy, and a chance to reshape their roles into something meaningful. But in chasing too much, too many headlines, too many deals, too much control over the narrative, they ended up burning through the one currency that matters most: public trust. Now, the question hangs heavy in the air. Can they turn it around? Is there still a road back for Harry and Meghan, or has the Sussex saga already written its final chapter? We want to hear what you think. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you believe they can reclaim their influence, or is this truly the end of the line?